the ultimate Death Stranding trailer analysis all in one place. A compilation of my 3 latest videos, including the newly released gameplay demo and first impressions from various content creators, measuring up to nearly 2 hours of lore for your brain to rot to. This video covers the TGA 2023 trailer, State of Play 2024 trailer, TGA 2025 scenes, South by Southwest 2025 trailer, and the gameplay demo. I am Moxie, and this is Heavy Speculation. If you are just as hyped for Death Stranding 2 or other gaming lore, consider subscribing to the channel. It's free and it helps a ton. If you want to get to a specific place, everything is chaptered for your convenience. Starting off with the first sequence, there's Fragile and this guy. We'll call him Captain. They're inspecting a cocoon in a room that looks like an infirmary. Throughout the beginning of this sequence, Captain is changing out tools on his arm. This time, it's a saw. Fragile also has these weird chiral hands that look kind of like medical gloves coming from a unit on her back. Captain is played by George Miller, by the way, the guy who directed Mad Max and Happy Feet. Yeah, that George Miller. He's Captain. The Captain uses his modular handsaw thing to cut the brittle eggshell-like cocoon. Now, this is weird for several reasons. First being the amount of tar that spills out of it. There seems to also be either specks of the cocoon or chiral speckles flying out of the background. Perhaps even some chiral speckles floating up from the cocoon on the left side too. Maybe it's because they're agitating the cocoon or shaking it out from the middle. The tar spills over onto the floor, so clearly the cocoon was pretty full of juice. The little flakes kind of look like chiralium. Then there's a BT kitty cat. A tar cat. It has wings for some reason and a tentacle for a tongue. BT kitty's eyes are yellow, kind of like chiral crystals, but also more neon. So what does it mean when something can manifest the tar into a cat? Is that a ka or a soulless husk? The wings kind of remind me of Louise's wings from the last trailer. Seems there could be some kind of connection between the wings and the beach, but who knows? In the next shot, it's revealed that there's a person in that cocoon. Their skin is gold. Perhaps the tar on their skin is from the cocoon being full of tar that spilled out earlier. The cocoon cracks off, kind of like an eggshell. Next, there's 2 scans that show up on a hologram in that same kind of bridges blue. The scans seem to be revealing the body encased within a cocoon, and the scan also seems to be highlighting something. I was interested if there was any legitimate medical terms on the scan, and it turns out there might be. Reversing the image shows TMR in white font. According to the National Institute of Health, targeted muscle reinnervation, TMR, is a surgical procedure used to improve the control of upper limb prosthesis. Residual nerves from the amputated limb are transferred to reinvigorate new muscle targets that have otherwise lost their function. But according to Boston University School of Medicine, it can also mean transmyocardial laser revascularization. That's something. Also called TMR. Is a treatment for patients with coronary artery disease who have not responded to or are not eligible for procedures such as agnoplasty or stenting or medication and coronary artery bypass graft surgery. a surgical procedure used to relieve angina, chest pain, that is generally caused by a lack of oxygen and blood flow to the heart. I would say it would be the second one because the box around the heart is also white. There's also some kind of blue rhythm that may be a heart rhythm. SAT is written several places on the scan. According to the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, SAT means Spontaneous Awakening Trials. THMO is also written. My first thought is that it's an anagram for Moth, the company that is labeled all over Sam's apartment in the first trailer. There also appears to be a legend for the heat-looking graph that we got on here. All the stuff on this chart could literally be anything that Kojima-san makes up. Anyway, Fragile and Captain peel open the literal coffin like, bruh, you know you're not supposed to do that, right? It always curses the world or something, whatever. You're not supposed to do it. So they do it anyway. Then Fragile pours some kind of clear liquid on her arm. There's a bit of writing on her glove, but I'm not too sure if it means anything. She wipes away the tar and we get a peek into the coffin from the other direction. It's hard to make out if there's something there besides her dress. In the next shot, it's super clear that this is mostly taking place in the Magellan. Can we just acknowledge how rad the captain looks in the shot? Anyway, Captain hangs a bag of some kind of IV fluid, while Fragile places the IV. The IV itself is blue. Not sure if it would be connected to the network automatically or not, but it is that bridge's blue color. It appears that Fragile administers some kind of air-loaded injection into her arm. There also might be another IV in the top of the arm, because there's clearly something that looks injected into that vein under the skin, and it's huge. The fluid in the vial is also like army green, so I don't know what that is. Here we get a shot of Fragile's freaky hand mask, all blinged out with the network ice. It's something to note that she wears it on her freaky hand instead of her actual hand. It's weird, right? She doesn't open her eyes all the way as if this body has an effect on her. If you remember from the first game, Fragile has dooms. Then, some kind of tentacle print appears to be on this chick's inner arm. What's most interesting is Fragile and Captain's response to this. This tentacle thing is not good. According to McLovin Trill 5798, people are inside of the tar, almost like cocooned or mummied, and the spots are where they get the sustenance from the soup, aka the tar. So maybe the Stranding is an entity feeding on people, but you can still rescue them? I really like the idea of being able to rescue the people who might be stranded. It would also fit nicely with the already established themes of connection. Boy Captain really said it's drip or drown out here and I ain't drowning. The hat has a patch with a snake that is wrapped around an anchor with cool chiral hands growing up from the sides. The snake reminds me of a medical logo. So maybe this is a medical ship that was repurposed? Not sure about that either. There's also the DHV Magellan patch, which Kojima released the logo of in a tweet. Captain seems very interested in what's going on with her arm and starts messing with it. Doing this reveals two things. First being spikes come out of the center of the tentacles. Then the little stingers retract. She's leaking tar. And when he messes with it, the same kind of hive says what Sam gets in episode 1 happens, and for some reason, it seems that Captain is kind of excited about this discovery. Fragile, though, does not seem as enthusiastic. So Captain starts tugging on it, and the stinger spits out what looks like tar and chiral matter. Fragile's weird glove hands shield her eyes very quickly, which makes you wonder how this thing is hooked up. Perhaps it's the Automated Public Assistance Company. Anywho, chiral tar goo burns through Fragile's glove and causes a timefall reaction. Then, there's a shot of Fragile's point of view showing maybe L fanning. It's hard to tell. Based on the art that was released on Kojima's Twitter, she's wearing something with the same neckline. The coffin also has green-looking tarnish all over the cracks. The eyes open and they're green. So, like, perhaps this is somehow Lou? The next sequence has Lou, then there's little BB Doom's hand marks all over the inside of the esophagus. Tar is leaking from the eyes. She burps up the fucking Magellan. Fucking radical, dude. I guess this is where we would be coming from the tar pool into Lou and traveling through her strand? I don't know. Maybe.
Welcome to Drawbridge, Sam. And to the GHV Magellan, our mobile base of operations. Come on, I'll help you get your bearings. This is the ship's armory. Here you can check your weapons and put them through their paces. These rooms over here belong to other members of the crew. They're pretty much the same as yours. And the shower's down at the end.
This is one hell of a ship you got here. Courtesy of the UCA, I'm guessing.
No. As I told you, Drawbridge is a civilian outfit. But we do have a generous patron with access to plenty of capital and tech.
Sounds like a UCA big shot.
Don't ask me. We've never met face to face. They value their privacy.
Seriously? No better than to believe that bullshit.
The next sequence starts with Sam being acquainted to the boat's various vicinities by Fragile. She welcomes Sam to Drawbridge kind of coldly, or perhaps kind of melancholy. Their skin is blue, and there seems to be light water refractions all over the walls. This tells us that they are likely in the seam. As they walk through the hallways, it reveals a bunch of little details. There's this little light in the bottom right that could go red later on in the case of emergency, maybe. The door slides open to reveal the armory. We got the quad launcher. We got what looks like a harpoon, perhaps even a light harpoon and a heavy harpoon, though the heavy harpoon be looking like a grenade launcher low-key. VR headset for VR missions, pretty sick, just like Metal Gear and apparently the first Death Stranding. We actually never ended up doing the range, so some kind of collapsible something, maybe carriers? Not sure. The Drawbridge trademark pistols, Sam's strand, hermetic grenades, probably some smoke-like grenades with other various grenade-type weapons. A marksman rifle, a shotgun, an assault rifle, and an LMG. This probably takes place right after the scene where Sam watches the Magellan materialize out of tar in front of his house, as so eloquently highlighted by TGLTW. One thing I did notice is that there's no plants growing on the walls like in the first scene with Fragile and Louise. Moving on, here they peek around into rooms that look pretty blank. I mean, there's nothing. Nothing on the shelf or anything. Down the hall looks to be one of those immersion baths. Maybe. Something someone, I guess, shared on Twitter and got shared in the Death Stranding Discord server is that the Magellan's main cabin that connects the rooms looks like something from Metal Gear. Interesting stuff. And it's clearly cold here in the scene, because you can see old Sam's breath. Now, remember, he is old in this sequence. Sam remarks on the ship and bluntly assumes that the ship was given to her by the UCA. Fragile tells Sam that Drawbridge is a civilian outfit. Then she hints toward a patron with access to capital line tech. Does she mean Die Hardman? Perhaps it's Deadman. But then she says, but don't ask me, we've never met face to face. So it can't be them. So perhaps it's the characters Sam hasn't met yet. Clearly, Sam is referencing to when Fragile was carrying around bombs for Higgs. He gave her a choice to run through Timefall and save the city, or jump to the beach and save herself. She saved the city. She said she wouldn't do it again. But here we are. Down the hall is what looks to be cargo. It's too blurry to tell. The lights on the little access pads are teal, distinctly not blue. There's a hatch and a ladder and another teal access panel. The little box on the wall is impossible to make out. There's some kind of gas line and a power grid. The door opens in front of them and they appear to step into what looks like an elevator.
It's the same deal as America. The people here are all spread out, cut off from one another. We want you to help us bring the world together.
Sam, would you mind if I joined you?
Humor him. His knowledge and experience will probably come in handy down the road.
Yes. Really, Sam? Your buttocks? What about shotgun? I prefer the driver's seat.
The next sequence, the ship is out of the seam. Sam is now young. He's young. Traveling through the tar might be like Speaker for the Dead, where when they travel, they must picture themselves, and when they do, the image of how they see themselves is reversed. Kind of like when Fragile pictures BB as equipment to get her to Amelie's beach. He puts on his necklace of Bic lighters that are likely the access keys for whatever the network he is supposed to connect now. He has a BB pod on his front, likely with the BT Lou on his chest. No, how could they do this to BB? The light is blue, so it is connected to the network. Another thing is, his suit also has glowing blue stripes through it. Maybe our suits have some crazy new paraglider attachment. One can hope, right? Sam's got the full drawbridge drip going on, including the original IP Do Not Steal power arms. I got a question. How does Fragile actually pee in that thing? She's got a freaky puppet guy that the people are calling Mimir, and I'm so hyped to have two companions. You/Ethan HML called him the Alan Wake puppet. Then I saw an article about it. I don't know. I never played Alan Wake. Homie can move his arms around and talk. He's like stop motion, which is a really cool effect. A tweet from Kojima says, quote, about the living puppet of the new character in Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I intentionally dropped the frame rate to give him the stop motion look, borrowing the bits of puppet elements like Benraku puppets, ventriloquist puppets, and stop motion. And there's a tweet that alludes to Kojima working with Alberto Mielgo, the animation genius behind Spider-Man Into the Universe, Netflix's Love and Death and Robots, Jabaro, and The Witness. Charlie thinks Mimir is evil, but I think he's gonna have an emotional backstory that we're gonna cry our eyes out to. Couple things to note in this shot. 1, Homie's eyebrows are huge. I mean, like, look at those things. 2, the puppet's got green eyes. 3, Fragile's little hands have a hexagon-like pattern, which kind of reminds me of the terminals at bridges. Sam walks into the main terminal of the Magellan, likely to go out of the front, right? Looks like the vehicles could spawn from right under this main circle. There's like a fire extinguisher and some glasses, maybe like oxygen or something. Sam has the chiral holder thing on his backpack, so chiralium is likely present wherever Sam is going to go. It's probably Mexico.
Your position.
The problem is, not everybody wants to be part of the UCA.
That's not the plan, Sam. The UCA isn't looking to expand its borders. Just like with Mexico,
It's definitely Mexico.
they want to bring new regions into the network. Anyway, the DHV Magellan's here to back you up. As always, you'll be the one leading the way to expand the network.
What's your role in all this? You're the commander, huh?
That's right. These days I'm fragile in name only.
Going from left to right, there's a city and then there's some strands. They don't look like they're being pulled tight. In Death Stranding, the strands are almost completely vertical. These kind of look like they have a lot of slack to them. There's also what looks to be a pyramid in the distance. In the first game, the spiritualist, we call her Bree, told us that some of these pyramids built by the ancients had portals to the beach. There's also smoke coming out right next to the pyramid. Mysterious stuff, guys. There's also this shitty, awful terrain. I mean, just look at it. Just look at it. Look at that terrain. Giant cacti. Looks like the city from a different angle. Either way, we got packages, boys, and you know what that means. Amazon Prime, baby. You know that's right. Then there's a desert, I guess. I don't know if we go to a different continent after Mexico, or if this is supposed to be Mexico. I don't know. There's also some water or tar shimmering off in the distance. Most likely tar. Then on the left is probably the structure that Sam is walking to. Perhaps some mysterious spooky ruins. And of course, there's gonna be highways to build. But where are the zip lines though? But like where the zip lines at? Though the highway design looks pretty smooth and different. Also, the little beams that whoosh past us are now curved with Gucci street light upgrades. The same weird pebbles floating up from it. Perhaps this time there will be day-night cycles, since clearly this is taking place at night. There's also a city. The lights are on. Pretty exciting. Maybe this time we'll get to meet some NPCs. That would be so hype. Then Sam walks out of some sort of facility, and the Magellan torching the shit out of whatever is behind it, I think. Perhaps it's a story beat, I don't know. There's also a red light on the belly of the ship, and what looks like a force field around this little eyeball thing.
You brought America together, helped it be reborn as the UCA. But I'm afraid that Death Stranding is far from over. Humanity is still in danger, still on the brink of extinction. Don't act like you don't see it. A lot of things changed after you went off on your own, especially within the UCA.
The next shot definitely confirms that there is indeed timefall, as there would be no other reason to have a timefall shelter. Also, the water can break apart structures, but it looks like if you actually place them properly, it won't be destroyed. Maybe. They also turn off when touched by water, and break apart if they are in the path of the water. There's also that weird pyramid in the background. Just chillin', by the way. The water looks the same tar brown color, but maybe this is the tar pool that was electrified near the volcano observatory. Whatever that electricity was is in the water and deactivating and tearing down the bridge and all the other structures. Maybe. Huh. That's a weird engraving. Wonder what it means. Next shot has a mountain collapsing. The background has some strands that don't have green on them yet, so maybe they are not part of the UCA yet. There's also an upside down rainbow in the background as well, with the blue missing, meaning this is another Stranding, or the Stranding from before. All I know is that Sam is here and the mountain didn't start falling until he got here, so Sam, what did you do? And the next shot, we're in fucking Caelid, boys. Like, why are we in Elden Ring all of a sudden? There's also some big BTs that are very clearly defined. Way stronger than the last game. Even when your BB bond is completely maxed out, it isn't this strong. So maybe when BB senses BTs, this guy turns red because BB's dead. And now we are in the Hunter's Dream. It's Bloodborne, baby. There's a manta ray. BT manta ray. So that's cool. Also, the pyramid is here, chillin'. In the next shot, we're back in the lands between, but this time we're at the Carrion Mansion. This guy is a snail though. Original IP, do not steal snail. When the BT snail Carrion hand slashes, there's little chiral trails.
Bridges no longer oversees the distribution network. They withdrew once things were up and running. So your friends and co-workers all went their separate ways. Within network coverage, there's no need to rely on human porters anymore. So after I closed up shop, I went and started a new group. One that handles work in regions outside the UCA. We decided to call ourselves Drawbridge.
Man, I cannot get enough of Captain's drip, dude. Like, look at this guy. Bruh. He looks so dripped out. He's also got some BT patches from the last game, the Magellan patch, and his sick fucking tar cat. He turns and inserts his nub into the machine. The cat either jumps off or it jumps in. It's really hard to tell, and it's snowing outside. There's caution light on the dash. Everything else is kind of hard to make out. I don't know. I'm no pilot, but that little controller looks like a pew-pew. Looks like the captain sinks the ship into the tar, confirming TG's theory. Also, notice the details on the side of the ship are the same as what is on Amelie's pod. Very curious. There's also some kind of lighthouse or tower off in the distance with a ladder. Reverse trike confirmed. Cargo confirmed. But this time, it's Drawbridge trademarked. Cabless truck confirmed, I guess. Maybe this one will move over terrain better. Maybe. One can hope, right? Backwards hat confirmed. Also, there's some mysterious strands with slack in them. Will there be caves? Probably not. One can hope. Finvost9349 mentioned, also given how the Magellan travels through the seam, through dimensions and the new open truck has 2 seats, I wonder if maybe multiple Sams might be able to inhabit the same instance of Earth. TLDR multiplayer? Other summonable Sams. It would be pure chaos, and I'm totally here for it. Sam approaches the Magellan outside of whatever government facility he's rolling up on. I think that the pyramid is right here again. This time, I think we're leaving this area and the strands in the background are blue and green, showing that they're fully connected. Sam gets a cool Gucci room upgrade at some point, I guess.
We decided to call ourselves Drawbridge.
With the support of the chiral network and APAS, humanity will be free from the need to move around. Bots are capable of handling deliveries.
Then we got the APAC bots, who look to have some glowing yellow stuff like Higgs. They have canisters and like some kind of rifle. They have these super weird caskets on their back, and Charlie thinks that they might be BBs in there, and he's beside himself.
Look at the backpack. There's BBs.
But I think that it's just a weird robot cat that he throws out, whatever that casket is.
They're fucking BB bots. They're fucking BB backpacks. No.
He's alive.
He called himself a ghost, but
We found a way back from the beach just so he could kill us.
he said he came back to get revenge on you and me.
It has a blue light on it showing it's connected to the network. Higgs rises out like a mummy and reveals that he's using Amelie's body. This makes sense because all the extinction entities had bodies that were still intact. Now remember how the Magellan had that design on the side? It's also on the guitar strap. So APAC probably made the Magellan too.
Hey, brother. Did you miss me? Yeah, I figured you'd pay this place a visit, seeing as how I've been distributing the fruits of this fine factory all over the continent. With guns and violence, the whole damn world could be yours. Same as it ever was.
Which is probably a reference to Talking Heads.
Same as it ever was.
Oh. Looks like you decided to trade in that rope for a stick this go-round. Well, I suppose even a porter has to pull the trigger from time to time. Oh, what about you? Hey, buddy. Are you just another soulless little husk, huh?
Let go of me!
Oh.
Pathetic guitarist! Where's the rest of your band?
Well, ain't that something?
Ivy Friday posted this image to Twitter for context. Higgs fucks with the puppet and then takes Lou. He instantly feels a connection to the beach, activating what looks like his dooms. At P of Cap mentioned that it's definitely Studio Ghibli vibes, and I gotta agree. Sam is young, by the way, and he asks if it's Higgs that killed Lou.
Was it you, Higgs? Huh? Was it you that killed Lou?
You still don't know, do you?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Lou is Amelie. It's like a first instinct thing from the delivery of that line. But who knows? These are all just legends anyway. Then Lou taunts the ever-living shit out of Higgs, and she's practically rolling him. Now, when this is happening, there's almost a full, complete rainbow when Higgs's dumb guitar riff electricity hits the lightning at Lou. I say Lou because you can hear a baby maniacally cooing at Higgs nearly the whole time, and this shit is hilarious. Samurai BB with a crazy glowing katana. Also, the Autobots disappear almost like thermite. looks like an antimatter blade because it does bend the space around it. Weird Sheikah technology shit.
Something he said. You don't know a goddamn thing about Lou.
All right, Sam. Let's see what we can find on Lou.
In this sequence with the apartments, there's a wall saying cooling, a barcode on one of the cabinets. Norman Reedus is wearing an apron and the backwards cap.
If you want answers, you're gonna have to find them yourself. But the ones you do find, well, that pain you nurse will only get worse. Sam the man in the dark about everything.
In the next scene, Lou and Sam are somewhere very cold, and there's a little BB logo on her hood. She's in teal, and Sam's hood is down. So I'm not sure if this is Timefall Snow. And gosh, this moment is just so dang cute. Look at it.
Don't forget, coming on this expedition was meant to help you find the strength to carry on. And you have. We all know you've got this. Now it's time to finish the journey, Sam. Please understand, Sam.
So TG was right. We are going to the beach, to the Death Stranding. Once again, there is another clear shot of the hands with the hexagon pattern, some chiral buttons, and Charlie thinks Fragile is smoking a chiral cigarette because she cries. A tweet by Sugi Noki says, quote, Fragile cigarettes emit smoke like a Kuya Shonen statue. The statue has an important cultural significance to Kyoto. 6 small figures of Amida stream from the Kuya's mouth, saying the 6 Chinese characters of the Nimbutsu. According to Wikipedia, Nimbutsu is a Buddhist practice central to the tradition of the Pure Land Buddhism, though not exclusive to it. In the context of Pure Land practice, it typically refers to repetition of a name of Amida in a ritualized form, though in some contexts, it refers to instead more of a meditative practice. Another thing about these freaky little unsettling hands, P of Cap caught a bit of the text on their hand, requires special tools to disassemble, and I hope this does not get used against Fragile. Definitely unsettling foreshadowing, though, right?
We never meant to string you along.
Then the drawbridge logo. Both stick and rope to protect and connect. Together for tomorrow. Corporate shit.
That chrysalis, we found her inside. It was filled with a fluid that contained amino acids. One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
I'm sorry, there are amino acids in tar? As in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
I was there. I saw her home. It was a hellhole.
Then we got Ellie Fanning, who goes to eavesdrop. Looks like someone in green boots in the room. Maybe someone we haven't met. Maybe Shioli's character. Who knows? The logo on the wall behind L is impossible to make out. It appears that Fragile is also in the room because you can almost make out those weird little freaky blue hands. They appear to be observing some kind of map. This kind of looks like the southwestern side of the map from the central region of the United States, but I'm not sure. Now, I think the scene has come full circle because Fragile and Captain are now looking at the chick out of the cocoon. Look, right there, an IV. There's also these white strands coming from her like a puppet. She is also levitating, so they have to strap her in. Elle really looks like she has the same color eyes as Louise, though the green background might be influencing me. He calls someone's place a hellhole and Elle storms away. Charlie thinks that maybe she thinks that he is talking about her beach. That was a mouthful. Charlie thinks that this is what upset her.
You see, after you left Bridges, I decided to do a little digging. Now, according to them, BB-28 was flagged for disposal and subsequently incinerated 4 years ago, long before you and Lou first met.
In this, finally, there's some books on the shelf. N.A. Venom tweeted, "Behind Sam's bed we see the famous novel Moby Dick and the book The Voyage of the Beagle, a book documenting Charles Darwin's voyage on the Beagle from 1831 to 1836. The Kojima Luden's cup on the shelf. Also, Sam is young. Again. Deadman tells us a little bit more about BB, which I broke down in my previous analysis. Finally, one last cool detail I found on Twitter at Tonkin Puka said, in the previous work, the story was about trying to connect the rope and see what was at the end of the rope. But in 2, the story will change to seeing how the rope can be cut once it's connected. There are 2 extra connections here. Photo mode be poppin'. Polaroid camera confirmed. For all the people thinking that this was creepy or weird for Kojima to do, it's really not. It's so cute. I'm really glad that he expanded to be Sam taking pictures of Fragile Tomorrow and Rainy. I personally love the photo mode stuff with Sam and the photo shoot mode. They look like they're having fun to me. Don't be a hater. So hype. In one of the promotional photos for photo mode, there's a tiny little trinket on Tomorrow's shoe. And then there's these pop-in puff jackets. Look, even Doll Man has a jacket. The jackets say, Dooms only, accept no substitutes. Level 9, timefall protection on the sleeves. Sufferers constantly endure nightmares of an apocalypse.
If Dooms is indeed Amelie's gift to us, her shared dream of our future.
Nightmares that haunt us, the visions of an inescapable future.
And Dooms started spreading my nightmares to others throughout the world.
Amelie wanted to understand why all she could envision was an extinction event, and shared the vision with those who became Doom sufferers.
She's the source of it all!
It was me that got you and everyone with Dooms into this.
All Doom sufferers see the world explode from Amelie's beach. There are levels to this shit. Sam is pretty low level, Fragile is mid level, whereas Higgs is high level. Higher levels mean higher connection to the beach. On the pocket of the jacket, it reads, Shipboard U something something, approved surveillance marking, no N/A. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. There's also this itty bitty little symbol above the pocket. It also appears on Sam's tank top from the gameplay trailer. I looked through the galleries of the wiki to see if there was any equipment or vehicles with the symbol, but to no avail. I think it could be some kind of biohazard symbol. Could also be the private entity that Fragile started Drawbridge with, considering it appears next to the Drawbridge logo. Okay, so this is post-production after uploading Mox talking here, and I actually had the Horizon Dreamer song on this, but it was copyright struck, and I was like, that's weird, and we figured out that it was actually licensed courtesy of Sonic Groove, so they don't even own the music license, like Death Stranding doesn't. It's not like the other songs where they were made exclusively for the game, whereas like they would hold the copyright for that. Instead, we're gonna have the Wii shop music, the Wii channel music instead. Sorry. Something worth noting is that in this sequence, Dahlman doesn't have the stop motion effect like every other sequence. And one thing that does remain is the threads coming from the puppet. Banoon mentioned offhandedly that this also might be Dahlman's human form. There's a sound effect as Daichi Miura mimics the sound effect of an Odradek. I have no idea what the translation is for these lyrics, which I tried searching for. I really did, but the auto captions were weird. Hey, post-production Mox here. So user Navenom, Venom, posted this post that said, a year ago, Kojima talked about having new ideas for the songs in Death Stranding 2, and yesterday they showed a concert playing inside the private room through the chiral network. The song is called Horizon Dreamer. Singer Daichi Miura was in Dark Souls, was in Death Stranding 1 as a character called the Musician, and as a gift he gives you a harmonica. So I didn't know that was him, but so he is a real person in the game. Pretty cool stuff. Bridge of the DHV Magellan.
This is the headquarters of our humble operation, the bridge of the DHV Magellan. It's always like this when the DHV Magellan's on the move. Meet Tarman, our resident doctor and geophysicist. He's also the captain and pilot, in case you hadn't noticed. And a fellow doom sufferer. The nav console offers a direct connection to the tar currents. The downside being that we all have to bathe in caralium.
Happy to have you aboard, Sam. You'll have to excuse me if I don't shake your hand.
You steer this ship solo?
Yeah, though the computer does most of the work.
So this is a submarine?
Spot on. We dive into the tar and use it to travel underground.
Just beneath the surface of the Earth, there are currents we can ride almost anywhere.
So what's your role in all this?
Me? I make sure Drawbridge's grand plans go off without a hitch.
So you're the commander?
That's right. These days I'm fragile in name only.
So Lou is the child's name. Hello? Excuse you. I too am a member of Drawbridge, believe it or not. It is an honor, Sam.
Little puppet?
What? Puppet? No, I am alive and my own master.
This is Dahlman. A man whose cow wound up stuck inside a... Well, you get it. He used to be a spirit medium.
When I was still flesh and bone, of course. Regrettably, my transformation cost me my talents.
Lou, where are you?
Fragile is the commander of the DHV Magellan, and we found out from the last trailer that Fragile started Drawbridge. Bridges no longer oversees the distribution network since all the knots were connected. Fragile told us that there was no need for human porters anymore, so she closed Fragile Express. The difference is, Drawbridge works in regions outside the UCA. Sam is also old in this scene, so it likely takes place right after us porters board the DHV Magellan. Tarman is the resident doctor, which we did see him performing medical procedures on Tomorrow in the last gameplay trailer. Clearly, since he owns a tool like a bone saw, he is experienced. Tarman is also a geophysicist, which really got my brain going. I definitely had to look up what a geophysicist is. According to USGS, a geophysicist is someone who studies the Earth using gravity, magnetic and electrical and seismic methods. This could have something to do with the weather stations, because they can read the electromagnetic energy. And I don't know if you've ever noticed a white hole opening up and spitting out the packages with a beam of lightning, but I actually caught it while it was happening. And it's weird. Two Sams appear, but one is kind of morphed. There's the whole side of chirality, which is kind of an expansive subject to get into in this video, but just know that this stuff is in real life, and would have real life applications if we could figure out the technology. It's basically all the things in Death Stranding, like the wireless power and the ultra-strong materials. I have sort of a conspiracy that I've been unraveling, so let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Tarman is a captain and a pilot, which is self-explanatory. And Tarman is also a doom sufferer, which means he can essentially see what he is navigating. And as for the DHV Magellan, Tar seeps up from the floor, which I will come back to in a second. The first thing I noticed was that the hologram of the wheel of the ship has little fishies swimming through it. There's also these tiny letters that say something like GOO or GPO. I couldn't figure it out. The console offers a direct connection to tar currents. Tar was not present before the stranding, according to Aaron Hill's interview. He speculates that the tar is a byproduct of the beach. The buildings also manifest through these tar pools. Tar currents are used to travel underground, and this is likely how we are able to travel to continents, since there is no air travel. according to the interview with Igor Frank, Why Planes and Drones Can't Fly. Before the Stranding, aerospace was very much like the modern day. At some point, the planes were automated before the UCA put a law into effect, there must be human input. Either way, the airspace was used regularly until chiral clouds blanketed the atmosphere. These chiral clouds interfere with flight and communication. Other countries became completely foreign, as there was no way to transmit information. This is why the UCA and bridges were able to swoop in with a new communication strategy, the network. Highways are also made out of the weird tar. We build them using a combination of chiralium, metal, and chemicals to be made, and they also directly supply power to the bridge's vehicles. So I imagine that the DHV Magellan is supercharged with this stuff. All passengers have to bathe in chiralium, meaning all the passengers should be doomed sufferers. And this is somewhat confirmed since the jackets worn by Rainey, Tomorrow, and Dollman all say dooms only. Speaking of Dollman, Dollman is a member of Drawbridge, and I wonder what kind of companionship he will provide. Will we be able to communicate with BTs? It's an interesting thought. He is familiar with Hartman, meaning he likely worked with Bridges 1 in the past in a role that involved Hartman. Dollman is hanging from one of those threads since we saw it coming off of Tomorrow in the first trailer, whereas strands are connected to those on the beach. Dollman was a spirit medium. Mediumship works as a liaison between a family and a loved one in the spirit world, with a Bluetooth connection through meditation. Dollman's Ka, meaning soul, got stuck in his doll, and he lost the ability to be a medium because it stuck with Dollman's Ha. With that being said, if Higgs has Amelie's Ha, Higgs would be really powerful. I mean, she is the absolute pinnacle of dooms because she is the extinction entity. This obviously means that Higgs is going to be stronger and a lot harder to beat since the last game. Moving on to Hartman's lab.
Administering shock. Stand clear.
Upper Beach reference frame confirmed. UB coordinates are L 47.37, B plus 6.32.
Hartman?
You're looking well, Sam. Thank you for coming. Oh. It's been a while.
Ticker still holding up?
Thanks to this support unit, I can flatline anytime, anywhere, without worry. No need for beds and the like either. I can sleep standing up. Not bad, eh?
Hartman confirmed. When Sam first walked into the room, the background appears to be some kind of underground destroyed facility, perhaps in Mexico. The eerie thing is, when the window opens of Hartman's lab, it shows Hartman's lab from the central region. His lab is also oriented slightly differently. There's no upper staircase or platform at the entrance. I'm guessing this is like when Bridget was getting treatment. The whole room and all the people were holograms. Hartman's heart is inside of what looks like a modified BB pod or a custom-made unit. Considering everything is printed through a chiral printer, it's likely the latter. He also has a powerful suit to keep him safe. Cause low-key, I was always worried about him hitting his head on the desk. And let us not forget about the impeccable new drip. Hartman says,
Upper Beach reference frame confirmed. UB coordinates are L 47.37, B plus 6.32.
I was wondering if these are some real or made up coordinates, and they are not made up. Just like chirality, it's a very real thing. The Supergalactic Coordinate System is a reference frame within the Milky Way galaxy. The coordinates are galactic coordinates to the North Galactic Pole. Boys, we are going to go see Space Santa. The North Supergalactic Pole uses Coma Berenices as its reference point, which is interesting. Coma Berenices, Latin for Bernice's log, comes from an ancient story. Bernice was married to Ptolemy III. When Ptolemy went to battle in the Third Syrian War, she vowed to sacrifice her hair to the gods to bring Ptolemy home safely. A court astronomer identified this constellation as the source of Bernice's missing hair. And Bernice was, get this, an Egyptian goddess. So I ended up plotting on a star chart where the upper beach would be located. Remember how you had to put your birthday in at the start of the game? Quote, higher levels of Doom's abilities have been observed in those born under the constellations such as Cancer, Pisces, Cestus, Delphinus, and Gygus, end quote. There's also that weird gate from the very first Death Stranding 2 trailer, the one all the dudes in red were carrying caskets toward. Which, by the way, the casket also has the symbol of the DHV Magellan and on the puff jackets, so I have a feeling that the network and drawbridge have something to do with the Automated Public Assistance Company, or APAC for short. This was around before the UCA or bridges were in the picture. Di Hardman tells us, quote, the whole thing was automated, AI managed, deliveries carried out by drone, end quote. Anyway, the weird gate could be on the North Pole, and maybe it's somehow connected to the North Galactic Pole. This could also be a hint toward a level in space. In the first trailer, Lou has stars on her bib, and there are stars made of construction paper on the wall and hanging from the ceiling. So that's lit, man. We could be going to space, you know what I'm saying? Moving on to Rainy and Tomorrow.
Thank you.
In the place where I came from, no one gave birth to babies. They just stayed inside their mothers' bellies.
Well, in our world, babies are born and grow up to be adults. Or at least they're supposed to.
It's only natural that Tomorrow wouldn't understand. After all, she was living in the realm of the dead. I wouldn't expect children to be born into such a place.
But Rainy's baby will be born, right?
In due time, of course. Isn't that so?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Raindrops are falling on my head. And just like the guy whose feet are too big for his bed,
Nothing seems to fit. Those raindrops are falling on my head, they keep falling. So I just did me some talking to the sun.
Oh, that was terrible.
I thought it was pretty good, actually.
So you'll be a mother who gives birth to her baby.
Mm-hmm. And I just can't wait.
Talk about terrible, Sam. I've heard dogs with better tone.
Let's talk about these bells. Lisa, who appears to be an insider working for Kojima Productions, said on Twitter, when I first heard it, I thought it was maybe jewelry or something, but watching it multiple times, I couldn't see anything. At Viking Mike 91 said, I might be wrong, but I think it's coming from the ring. The ring looks like it's replacing the cuff link from the first game. And in the first game, Mama used her Odradek to soothe her by baby. Maybe Rainy is using the ring in a similar way. Benoon also mentioned that the sound from Rainy was probably her ring, and I think it has something to do with her powers. Benoon also seems to think that it sounds like a wind chime. I'm not so sure though. When I heard this bell, it sounded super familiar. At first I thought it somewhat sounded like a boating ball or a Chinese medicine ball. They are mainly used to improve dexterity or for physical therapy on the hand. However, I didn't feel like this fit exactly. I did a bit more research and I came across the Kagura Suzu. Kaguro Suzu is the bell, and the bell is used by a shaman in Shinto to perform a ritual where it's like god entertainment. And so they use these bells and perform movements to basically become the god during the Shinto ceremony. I don't know much about it, I'm not an expert, but that's what I gathered. Something I picked up from the Tokyo Game Show was said by Shioli Katsuna. She said something to the effect of, "My name is Rainy and I make the rain." That was just the auto captioner though. So I sent this specific clip over to my good friend Last Protagonist to see if he could tell me what she said. He said, quote, "I wouldn't phrase it as the one who makes the rain, but she makes rain, but there's other mechanisms for it apparently." End quote. Thanks, Last Protagonist, you're the best. And something to keep in mind is that Higgs and possibly Clifford Unger both summon Timefall. I don't know, it's something really interesting to think about. Someone can bring about the rain or influence it in some way, and maybe they do it through some kind of medium. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's move on to the best part, the character introduction for Tomorrow. Tomorrow is from the world of the dead. No one that was pregnant would give birth, and this makes sense.
I realized the beach was connected to the world of the dead.
Normally, the souls of the dead move on. The beach is just a corridor, a place through which they pass on the way to the other side.
Your BB links you to the world of the dead.
Cut the cord of the BT, and it returns to the world of the dead. So, I started researching bridge babies. Children bound to the world of the dead.
Of course the babies aren't born in the world of the dead. Remember? All of the mothers are brain dead. So they go to the world of the dead pregnant because they are still connected to the bridge babies. So all the pregnant women Tomorrow is referring to are the mothers that worked with bridges. Meaning, Tomorrow is probably dead, or at least somehow resided with the world of the dead. They peel her out of the mummification in the gameplay trailer. But here's the most interesting part. Chapter 15 was called Tomorrow is in Your Hands. During the last chapter, Lou is literally in your hands, which kind of runs along with my current running theory that Lou is Tomorrow, is Amelie, is Bridget. And something I haven't seen brought up anywhere is the drawbridge logo, both stick and rope to protect and connect together for tomorrow. For tomorrow! I was freaking out when I saw this. Okay, both stick and rope to protect and connect together for tomorrow. So, here's what I'm thinking. Tomorrow is a very important figure. This could have something to do with Lou's mystery. If you remember from the gameplay trailer.
Now, according to them, BB-28 was flagged for disposal and subsequently incinerated 4 years ago, long before you and Lou first met.
If drawbridge is really meant for tomorrow, that would mean the entire operation will revolve around recovering her from the world of the dead and delivering her somewhere. Think about it. If our goal is to recover her, then the mission would become to protect her. But why? I think it has something to do with Lou, Tomorrow, Amelie, and Bridget holding together the universe in some form. To speculate, perhaps Amelie's Ha being stuck on the beach caused her Ha to become sundered in time. Because, remember, time does not move the same way on the beach.
Time stops on the beach, but not in the seam.
There's the world of the dead, the beach, the seam, and our world. This is some heavy speculation here. Perhaps each of these worlds belong to one of the characters, or these characters are lost within these worlds. Maybe our goal will be recovering Amelie's Ha, recovering Tomorrow, finding Lou, and then perhaps going to the upper beach to find Bridget. And this might involve giving up Lou. The key to the beach might be uniting the different parts of Amelie's Ka, and maybe the cultivation is Tomorrow. The last thing I wanted to bring up was the release date. To once again quote Kojima, while we haven't announced the release date yet, we naturally already have one set. The plans are in place, although production is progressing toward that goal. Various factors could affect the timing of the release. There is so much to look forward to in Death Stranding 2, I cannot wait. There's some other things that were released about the production, such as the Daruma doll. A Daruma doll is a traditional talisman of luck to the Japanese, and the doll is used as a goal setter. To quote Kojima here, a Unity party was held in preparation for the release of Death Stranding 2 next year. All the staff members painted eyes of the Daruma doll, with their wishes increasing the sense of unity and injecting enthusiasm. I just thought this was really cool. It says DS2 and it's painted kind of in this Egyptian Japanese style, which is rad in my opinion. So starting off with the blink transitions that are just like the flashback to Sam's memories. So these are most likely memories, but what is interesting is that it's not happening from the perspective of the BB pod this time. At least it doesn't appear that way. The room is pretty unnotable as far as interrogation rooms go. The only thing that struck me as odd was the padding on the walls. The first thing I thought of is that maybe it was to prevent self-harm, but then again the corner on the wall wouldn't be exposed like that. It could also be to absorb sound, in case there's cross-interrogation happening.
You, sir, are an unrepentant criminal, guilty of illegally entering our country on multiple occasions.
The only thing that I'm guilty of is doing your dirty work.
So we can tell that this guy is part of the UCA in some official capacity, right? And he is interrogating Neil.
By way of compensation, we have overlooked your crimes.
Bring it on, because I'm not doing this shit anymore. It makes you think you have a choice!
One of the things I noticed about this frame is that this guy's badge is peeking out of his shirt. It matches the badge seen on Lucy in the next scene, meaning this guy interrogating Neil is likely a part of Bridges 1, but in a position of authority. So like I was talking about, the Bridges 1 logo is on the badge. Unfortunately, everything else on the badge is illegible. These two appear to be having a discussion in a more private setting, such as an office or a home. More than likely, it's an office, as I will discuss in a few frames.
What kind of cargo?
Cargo like brain dead, pregnant women.
No one would possibly allow that.
That's why I have to smuggle them in. They make me bring them over from Mexico.
This somewhat confirms my idea that the brain-dead mothers were always more valuable than the BBs to begin with. The BBs only require a still mother to have a connection. And if you think about it, the mothers would be much more valuable than the BBs themselves. This also begs the question, why would the brain-dead mothers be smuggled in from Mexico instead? This is a tricky question, because the answer is uncomfortable at best. It could be because of the way that some Americans perceive Mexicans, as lesser than. If Americans were to do it to their own people, there would be outrage, which is really messed up. On the wall is what appears to be a security system, a part of the network. In the background is a very specific piece of furniture. This is called a psychiatrist's couch, a chase lounge, or a long chair, which is an incredibly common trope when depicting a therapist in film or television. This begs the question, is Neil a client? Is Lucy getting involved with another client? This baby appears to be in the ballpark of 10 to 12 weeks. I know this from staring at my own sonograms and pregnancy app. There is this Bridges 1 logo behind Lucy. Once again, her badge is almost completely illegible. It doesn't really matter because the more important thing being conveyed here is the dialogue and the body language. N.A. Venom brought up the idea of this being an affair. And while I did not clock it at first, upon further contemplation and examination of the scenes between Neil and Lucy, this totally makes sense.
This thing between us. It was a mistake.
The thing between them is literally a sonogram of a baby. As you might recall from the first game, the BBs are not put into pods until roughly 28 weeks gestation. I will get back to Lucy and more of the history behind this character again later, but for now I want to examine this relationship between these two new characters. Both Neil and Lucy hang their heads looking at the sonogram. There is this heavy sense of shame in the air. Lucy can barely look at Neil. Meanwhile, Neil's eyes are locked on Lucy. While Neil does not display shame, it is clear that he feels strongly for Lucy. From Lucy's reports, Sam was off doing Samazon Prime shit, and was not around often. Since Lucy was being driven absolutely bonkers by President Strand, it would make sense that she would be vulnerable and fall into an affair with Neil. This would also solidify why Lucy would commit suicide later on. Incredibly, at exactly 28 weeks gestation. Now, if you notice, all the scene transitions have had this blink, and since there is no BB pod around, it would mean that these are likely flashbacks from Lou. That's really my only hunch at the moment.
No, it was not a mistake. It was not a mistake.
Neil's eyes are the same color as Lou's and Tomorrow's eyes, a very pretty green. When Neil says this is not a mistake, it goes to the next shot of Lou. This begs the question, was Lou ever Sam's child? This is a bit different from the other shots of Lou in that she doesn't really react and no thumbs up. It cuts out to a shot that we have seen before. It seems as though the atmosphere, the biome, or the weather have changed for story purposes. Or one of the two shots may be a callback in the story. There's an APAC logo on the ladders. Sam is a porter. Perhaps he fled to Mexico to escape with Lou. It's not clear exactly where this is, but it seems as though this would be the beginning of the story. And by the way, what a lit trench coat. Is Sam participating in like a nomad lifestyle? The next shot tells us the story picks up 11 months after the birth of the UCA. If you recall from the first game, when we connect the last knot, this action forms the UCA, the United Cities of America. We did this. So we are picking up almost a year later. Obviously, this is the beach. It appears to be very similar, at least in color, to Sam's beach. In all likelihood, this is Amelie's beach, although there's really nothing to indicate it. The beach seems commandeered by Higgs. Lots of deceased sea life is scattered about the beach. Floating above are thousands of BTs. Now, let's talk about these servers lining the beach. There are also thousands of these. The chiral network uses the beach to send information back in time, making the transmission seem instantaneous. In the interview with Mama titled Chiral Network 2, quote, "Just imagine, massive amounts of data transferred almost instantaneously. That's what we're trying to achieve with the chiral network, in a nutshell. In theory, the network allows us to reconstruct old data that would otherwise be lost, and to do so with fragmented resources. Using what's known as Evo-Devo analysis, we could take the finger bone of a dinosaur, say, and extrapolate from that not only the dinosaur's form, but its composition, internal, external, even thought processes to a degree. Anything's possible with chiral computing." This is because time stops on the beach, and this is exploited for a super fast, no-ping, premium gamer internet. YouTuber ZDI brought up something interesting in their Death Stranding analysis video as well. These servers on the beach may be meant to run automated programs. With that being said, my husband Charlie had an interesting idea. The servers could be the brain-dead mothers. Seeing as each of the knots contain BBs, perhaps each of these servers contain brain-dead mothers connected to the BBs. Suginoki mentioned it has much of a graveyard feel, and I couldn't agree more. Let's continue to combine the next two shots. It's almost impossible to make out exactly what area of the map that we're looking at here, but as you can see, it's heavily affected by voidouts. This is likely why this automated porter assistance system was implemented. The logo for APAS kind of looks like a brain. Below are holograms likely tracking the movements of multiple delivery bots. These bots were prototyped by Mama and manufactured by Bridges during the duration of the first game for automated deliveries. Also, on the right side of the frame is a set of pictures in the background, but none of them are legible. Same deal as before, let's continue to combine the next two shots. This gate we have seen in previous trailers is probably the plate gate. This somehow gives the ability to move between continents.
Just beneath the surface of the Earth, there are currents we can ride almost anywhere.
And this is how the DHV Magellan can travel between continents. So I guess that the gate might act as a middleman. Or maybe this is somewhere that the DHV needs to go if we will be going to a different continent. Once again, we have an old shot of the DHV Magellan, which we've probably seen before. As you can see on the right side of the frame, it's probably Sam as they look at the DHV Magellan. So the new ship that rides the tar currents is the DHV Magellan. Fragile is holding Dollman and looking up at him. They appear to be having a conversation about what's in front of them, which appears to be a body. Is this Sam? We did see Sam had a very sleek and cool trench coat on earlier, and the length is about right as well. This could also be Dollman's old body. I'm not too sure. What I do think is that Dollman is able to tell Fragile more about this person who may be deceased in front of them. Reddit user Dream Onto said, "Looks like the same man, same coat, pants, and doll." The only other notable thing is that the trees are barren in the background and it looks rather swampy. Everyone is bowing down to presumably BB or Sam, probably BB. Everyone, that is, except for this guy back here. That's probably Higgs. There are multiple statues of this lady in red, and she is holding what appears to be a baby. Sam and BB are at what looks to be another knot city surrounded by tar. Charlie seems to think that the statues came out of the tar, and considering this weird faction is able to teleport in and out of existence, I wouldn't say it's unbelievable. There's a bunch of barriers around, and Sam is walking toward this tar rising from the ground. My assumption is that he summoned the DHV Magellan. This kind of looks like water from the seam, but then again, Sam is standing straight up. He's not floating. I'm not sure what to make of this aside from that this is an effect of chiralium seeping into reality. Maybe bringing the seam and mixing it with the world of the living. I don't know. I really don't. Tell me what you think, cause I got nothing. What's interesting is that it flashes the whole unending sixth extinction thing and then immediately cuts to Lou. If you haven't seen my last trailer breakdown, go check it out where I flesh out some of the theory more. The TLDR is that I think that Lou is Tomorrow as Amelie is Bridget. There's tons of hints everywhere I looked, and I admit I'm probably biased, but can we please acknowledge the Otter Bassinet, Kojima? When does this exclusive Otter Bassinet merch go on sale? I really want one. Lou is hiding behind the bassinet, which makes me think that the scene is where Fragile and Lou get ambushed. A final journey with the dead. I guess this is meant to be the last game? I'm not really sure what to take from this last title card other than that. It doesn't really match the way that the other title cards do to the other shots. I guess it could be because he's about to move on to OD. Again, let me know what you think. Then we have a series of different shots showing off all the different biomes that we will be delivering packages in. The first shot is simple, just Sam walking out of the DHV Magellan, probably in Mexico. I think this shot is definitely meant to flex the detail because it looks really nice. The only things I really noticed were the trails for the vehicles and what looks to be either boundaries or like the battery charger. The next frame has dragonflies flying through the sky and a very pretty sunset, very savannah vibe, and yes, water. Commenter at Diego Rodriguez 9862 said, "Oh, that's water. I think, what kind of reaction is this?" Okay, look. Yes, I did point out that this is water in my reaction, and that is because in Death Stranding, every single ocean and body of water was tar. Think Lake Knot, the beaches in the central region, Edge Knot, etc. They were all massive bodies of tar, not water. So you can see how it is, in fact, surprising that there's actual water. Yes, there are rivers and streams that come directly out of the mountains, and yes, they are freshwater. I more assumed massive bodies of water were all corrupted by tar. According to the interview, Tar Bubbles Up from the Beach by Aaron Hill. Quote, "Hard to imagine all that bubbled up damn near overnight. Honestly, I felt like I was standing at the edge of the world. We don't know much about the tar, except that it wasn't around before the stranding, same as Timefall and Chiralium. There's some speculation that it might be some byproduct of the beach, and that if you could somehow retrace the flow that you'd end up there. But that's all theoretical stuff." And as I commented back, I could be wrong, and it could be a bad assumption on my part. I've just kind of always assumed that every stagnant body of water is just tar. This shot is just gorgeous. It definitely reminds me of the end of the first game where we become disconnected from the network and we had to rely on what other players had left behind. It looks like there are some balloon BTs floating off in the distance. We are also in the polar region due to all the different sheets of ice. Then we have a very tropical jungle region. This is nice. It looks great. I really fucking hope that there's caves or some stuff to explore. I get Kojima is telling a linear story, but like, please sir, can I have a pinch of exploration? This shot just kind of reminds me of the first game. Very dreary. We're walking toward one of the facilities. Nothing super notable other than that it's a very soggy walk. Remember in the other trailer where Sam is running and the structures start collapsing from the water? I think this is the same region. It's lit. This just looks really good, the way the graphics look. I wonder what in the story could have caused this. But it also kind of reminds me of when the DHV Magellan was torching the shit out of the environment. This shot just kind of excites me because, for one, we have something that looks like an actual city to explore. God, I really hope there's some exploration. The city is abandoned. What's kind of cool is that Sam appears to be running straight into a chiral storm. Or like a sandstorm, but it's also more like a dust storm. I don't know. There's electricity coming out of it that shocks both the car and the sign. So I don't know, but it's kind of exciting. Nothing to note here except that Sam is going toward the danger on his Master Cycle Zero. There's literally tar bubbling up from the ground. There is some lights in the background. Everything is too shaky to figure out what's going on here. I really like this little mechanism because it means that we will be able to cross over large bodies of tar with our little paddle boat. It's a pretty neat piece of Sheikah technology. It also looks like Sam is going from what looks like one of the knots. And the DHV Magellan is flying off in the background as well. Human trafficking confirmed. These conditions look like shit to walk in. Let's go. Okay, Sam, another avalanche. Coincidence? I think not. This happened in the last trailer. Also, there's these little white smoky lines. Not sure. I don't know. Anywho, next. Okay, so the knots are not bridges. They are APAC. Bum bum bum. This definitely solidifies the idea that the DHV Magellan was also made by APAC. So was most of the equipment that Sam carries with him. I love this little victory lap he does whenever he makes it here. I wonder what this structure is in the background. It might be like a cannon or slingshot, zip line. I don't know. What's interesting is that these facilities look very Bridges 1. Maybe the other continents got the hand-me-downs of the UCA. These little tentacle things that come out of Cupid when connecting to the network or whatever it is going to be called this time is really weird. Maybe it's stronger. It definitely looks different. I want you to keep this in mind for later. Then we just have Dollman kind of floating here the same way that Mama and Sam do whenever they connect the Cupid. And here we have Madong Sok. According to Games Lover, Madong Sok aka Don Lee cameo in the Death Stranding 2 on the beach. This is so fucking cool. I didn't know who this was at first, but I'm glad that they pointed out. According to IMDb, Madong Sok, also known as Don Lee, is a South Korean American actor best known for his supporting roles in The Neighbor, Nameless Gangster, Rules of the Time, and The Unjust. Also, his little blood pack says APAC, but the facility still looks like a Bridges facility. This seems like a carousel that hangs above a baby's bed, but a hologram. There are whales, fish, stars, and octopi. It seems as though this is directly after the accident with Lou. Fragile is wearing the same outfits and has roughly the same wounds, except I suppose the bullet wound. She is obviously recovering, and this little ring around her is likely monitoring her vitals.
I couldn't protect Lou.
We've already seen a shot very close to this one. Fragile takes a huge tumble and rolls with Lou. IMO, this shot looks even better. Lou doesn't have a scratch on her. Meanwhile, Fragile is covered in blood. She looks this way, and there's 3 people from that mysterious faction off in the distance, coming from what looks like Sam's house. She looks the other way, and this appears to be Higgs. He is mad for coming after both Fragile and Lou.
I tried to jump us out of there.
The first thing I noticed was the white speckles when she jumps, which are not there when she jumps in the first game. It is just like an aberration or something. But with this, she's like phasing out with white shimmering confetti.
But I could only take my equipment with me. And I couldn't possibly think of Lou like that.
This is a callback to Death Stranding when Fragile was able to jump to Amelie's beach with Lou.
Your little one managed to bring it here by picturing it as equipment. You mind? Babysitting sucks.
This shot was in the previous trailer, and man, it looks way better comparatively. You can really see how much of the game has been visually updated in the last few years. Anywho.
The best I could hope for was to jump Lou out. Just Lou.
In Death Stranding, Fragile could only jump people one at a time. This is also interesting because when jumping, the other person must picture where they want to jump to.
Now picture Amelie in her beach.
So where would Lou be picturing to jump to? Lou is crying tar here, same as when a repatriation happens and her eyes are secreting tar. There are also these white threads around Lou. The same kind of white threads that came from Tomorrow in both the scene where she is overhearing a conversation and where her body is floating above Sam, Tarman, and Fragile. Nothing really to talk about with this shot other than that the gun might say Kevin on it. Can't really make it out though. The otter bassinet is so cute. I really want one. No, I need one. Lou's diaper says UCA, diapers for babies, and her blocks are in the background. She rests peacefully. So this next shot is really interesting. This person from the mysterious faction is walking into a reflection of themselves to teleport. Like, that's really freaky, right? Going frame by frame, it looks like this person is teleporting via water. There's also what looks like water refractions on the ground surrounded by coral reefs. It may have something to do with chirality. According to the interview called Chiral Symmetry by Hartman, quote, "This is the essence of chirality, the state in which the mirror image of a shape does not match the original. It has been theorized that BTs are mirror images of ourselves. Were we to exist in the same point in time and space, our shapes, as it were, would not overlap neatly into one another, save in reflection. And when our particles meet their opposites, a void out occurs." End quote. Meaning, theoretically, if this mysterious faction member was perfectly overlapping neatly onto one another, then perhaps they can use this to, like, dimension hop or something. Clearly, this guy is not causing a void out, though. On another note, this animation in the engine is, like, truly amazing. In this shot, Sam walks into the tar and rises into the air. Here we are fighting a big BT, and it grabs us. It has a slice down the center of its forehead. I guess these BTs might be able to eat you and cause a void out. According to the interview titled Giant BTs with Hartman, quote, "We have anecdotal evidence suggesting the existence of some truly enormous BTs. Curiously, however, these ones do not appear to have umbilical cords. Giant BTs are comprised of the consolidated ka of multiple deceased individuals. As a result, the connection between each individual and their beach is lost, which is why the resulting BT does not manifest an umbilical cord. That's the theory at any rate." There's also this little cross in the background, and it kind of reminds me of a chiral relay. To me, it looks like whatever this thing is would be giving birth to a big BT. There's these little green lights in the corner, and it looks like it could be outside of a facility. Then we have a big finger creeper that we also saw in previous trailer attacking Sam. This one has a mouth, which is very Lovecraftian. Also, in this shot, Sam is wearing a BB. This does not appear to be Lou, and later we see Rainey's BB in a pod, so perhaps she lent her baby to Sam for a mission. This BB doll was seen all throughout the first game. We do get somewhat of an explanation from Fragile in episode 12, Bridges.
I looked inside his pod, and there was no BB in there. Take a good look at what was. It's the same doll Die Hard Man had. This is their bridge baby. There's this idea that the terrorists brought back BB tech and Bridges was just following suit. It's garbage. Their methods and yours are completely different. Your BB links you to the world of the dead. Their doll links them to Amelie and her beach.
You know who else had dolls like this? Cliff. He was carrying them on the battlefields. Cliff, Higgs, the director. All three of them were drawn in and controlled by this extinction entity. And who is this EE really? Is it Bridget? Is it Amelie?
It is in Sam's stomach when he repatriates before meeting BB. The BB doll is on the Entangled Beach, or the Strandfield, with Cliff the first time and in the Vietnam one. There's also one point where there are multiple of these dolls inside a barbed wire spiderweb. These dolls are a connection to Amelie's beach. The eyes of the dolls snap open and turn the same orange as the inside of the BT hand mouth from the previous frame. All I know is that it has something to do with Amelie's beach. So I guess these are two BT titans fighting in a dead city. The one on the right is giving the other an uppercut and is missing both of its hands. Sam shoots at the same one. This scene appears to be connected to the one from earlier where all the mysterious faction members kneel to Sam, or probably BB. You can tell because of the statue in the wall in the background. I guess Higgs has multiple of these masks as well, because this one has a creepy smile. I mean, this is probably Higgs. It could be someone else. There's also this building in the distance, which seems it could lead into this scene. Sam is fighting a Sheikah guardian looking ass thing. The same building is in the background with a high wall, but no faction and no statues. This thing can balance on half of its legs, and has claws. Probably has something to do with the mysterious faction since it's in red. Sam looks over and sees that he is about to be pursued by the red automated vehicles on the highway, and it looks like we are on the reverse strike. Oh my god, dude, I'm editing right now, and I just realized we could fucking pop people off the fucking side of the bike. Like, we could just pew 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 at other people. So, like, does that mean we get to pop people off the side of a zip line? Because that's been my dream. Because, like, I didn't even notice that we're shooting people. We're shooting this on a bike. That's sick, right? Like, that's sick. I don't know. So, yeah.
Vehicular manslaughter confirmed.
Vehicular manslaughter confirmed. Then those lights that whoosh past us are now red. The power grid on the highway still exists because our bike turns teal when it's connected to it. The red automated bike crashes into a wall, and then there's this red barrier, meaning we probably can't fall off the edge. It's also nighttime, which definitely leads me to believe that there are day-night cycles, which is pretty exciting. This head thing has these weird teeth and a mouth that lights up the same color as the mouth of the hands and the BB doll's eyes. It also has these amoeba-like tentacles sprouting all over. Truly terrifying and disgusting and very Lovecraftian. This head thing also swallows up the tar in a vortex, or like is spitting it out, and it somehow lights up blue as well? I'm not super sure. And it also kind of looks like a split in half skull, which is freaky and weird, and I don't like it. There's also a strand in the background that Sam is likely moving toward, or a structure, or something like that. Here we appear to be in the scene looking up at the Big Five. This could be referring to the 5 mass extinctions, but also some people speculate that the Big Five are Deadman, Mama, Die Hardman, Fragile, and Higgs. Also interchangeable with Hartman. But who really knows? These are all just legends. Regardless, this is underwater, likely in the scene because there's tons of sea life that is alive and swimming around. There's also a complete rainbow lens flare. Not sure why we were high above the clouds in the shot. Maybe it's Everest or something. There's this one little connected strand below Sam. Reddit user Star1S3 posted this. The Casper David Frederick wander above the sea of fog. And honestly, I thought of this painting too. It's a classic. In the next shot, there's some rocky masses below and a connected strand on the far right. Obviously, Sam is carrying some packages. I think this is the Crab Nebula. It looks exactly the same, but mirrored. I already looked it up, and the nebula is not even close to the supergalactic North Pole. I was hoping that they were, but they are not. Still, a beautiful shot. Moving on. It appears that Sam is making his way toward this structure, which kind of reminds me of the weather station. We saw the moon this close in another biome, which leads me to believe that this is either a story beat or the moon is just that close. The stars also look crazy close as well. Here, Sam crosses one of the bridge structures going toward the city that we saw earlier with the statues outside of it. You can tell because of that building. What's also cool is this upside down rail line going across the frame. It also looks like there's going to be a ton of NPCs to talk to in this area because look at all those strands coming from the city. There's also tons of structures from the last game, including zip lines, timefall shelters, the shelters, lookout towers, battery chargers, and this weird one in the middle. Not sure what that does, but I'm sure excited to find out. Here we have another shot of Higgs, and this appears to be post-battle because his guitar is unhooked and the bottom of his guitar is red. As you recall, that happened when Higgs and the Red Samurai were fighting. The The room behind Higgs is where we are in the very next shot. It's difficult to tell if that's the Red Samurai on the right, but it isn't aimed at us, so I'm assuming it might be. However, the Odradek is focused on the bot on the right, even when Sam is targeting the bot by the door. He slides and shoots, and this was a mechanic that was available in the last game. Mule's Spear confirmed! We now have the power to fuck them over. Here, it looks like Sam is fighting some equivalent to the mules. And speaking of which, if everything is automated, there's probably going to be a lot more mules. Way off in the background are green lights, and if you recall from earlier when that BT was being birthed, there were green lights in the corner. So, this could be the same area. There is some kind of building on the right hand side, but it's hard to tell if it's destroyed or it's just like that. There's also someone to deliver to right beside the building. There's a ton of light behind the rock, meaning there might be a city or some other structure behind it. Here there are even more mules, and it appears that the stabilizers might have that jetpack light feature that allows the player to strafe left or right. Sam also shoots off the mule's helmet, which might have an oxygen mask attached. In addition, there's different box-like piece of equipment attached to Sam's backpack. Maybe it's more like a compact battery, or something like that. Here we have Sam in the Cicada MC2000, connected to the highway with an APAC logo printed on it. This highway might be special in that it provides protection from timefall. The sign above him reads, F2 South Distribution Center, alongside yet another APAC logo. There are bridge structures feeding up into the distribution center as well. So perhaps we might be able to build closer to the distribution centers or the structures, which is utterly chaotic. Moving on to the next shot, Sam waves to Rainey and Tomorrow as they leave the DHV Magellan. There's nothing but white outside the DHV, so it's hard to tell what they are headed to. Moving on, Sam is riding this curved zip line, and since we do not have cuffs anymore, he has more of a pole that he appears to be seated on. It looks like Sam is about to do a train heist. Way in the background is a highway leading to a structure that is fully connected to the network. First off, Sam looks so young. His hair is short just like in the picture of Sam, Lucy, and Bridget. Here he is in an original Bridges Porter uniform, which makes me think that this is a flashback to Lucy. If you look at the legs on this person, it leads up to a pretty thick torso, almost like they are pregnant. I'm thinking we will absolutely go back to Sam's past to understand even more of what happened between Sam and Lucy. The new open cab vehicle is being repaired within the DHV Magellan. You can tell because of the little wrench symbol on the right side of the frame. I'd like to bring to your attention this machine gun-like attachment on the left. Not sure what it does, but it sure does look cool. Here someone is being uncovered by two medical practitioners who are suited up and sterilized. My best guess is that it may be Lucy, as we did see what is probably her 2 scenes ago with a white cover on. Sam rides the cargo train that we have seen in a few different shots. Here it is going through a tunnel, so perhaps this runs between cities and underground. Reddit user 336 Incorporated said, "Hell yeah, trains. Finally, the most efficient way to transport goods between major cities. The train system is probably called TYP and belongs to APAC, or it is the name of the company that created and operates them on another continent, depending on how TYP is deciphered. It uses a suspended monorail system as a rail base and have only little vertical ladders for maintenance, so most probably we can't ride on it in the open world, only in a cutscene. Higgs will be killed by the code phrase, I like trains." I know I said it was probably Lucy, but something curious that is in the reflection of these eyes is the same exact light. This is probably Tomorrow though. We saw this shot in the gameplay trailer. Considering the crusty sarcophagus in the top right of the shot, it's probably not a reverse shot of the medical scene. And another thing is her eyes are the same color as Neil's. I have a feeling that it will be very important. Even Kojima-san himself posted these sets of screenshots, which seemed that he was trying to be on the nose about it. Next, we have another shot of the tar cat next to what looks like Fragile's boots inside the DHV Magellan. The next few shots are the character shots, so there's not much to really say about them, but I'll run through them. Once again, we have Sam standing in front of a tar pool. Fragile, there's some sparks rising, but boy, these shots are crispy. Then we got Tarman and Tarkat, and then Higgs. During South by Southwest, Kojima-san said this about Higgs' character.
During the pandemic, everyone, remembered that you were all alone in your house. Me too. And I was watching the internet, and Troy was actually singing with his guitar, and he was kind of broadcasting that to the world. He was giving, everyone some energy. And I thought, yeah, Troy could sing. So I thought that, okay, Higgs, I'm going to give him a guitar, and I'm going to make him sing. And this was not in the original.
Put him to work.
But then I asked Troy to sing a lot, so he sang a lot for the recording.
So that's kind of a cool addition to find out why Higgs now has a guitar. I think it's definitely a fun and interesting addition. Next, we have Tomorrow holding a gun. In episode 22 of the Brain Structure podcast featuring Elle Fanning, February 2nd, 2023, Kojima says,
So when I was planning DS2, I always had Elle in the back of my mind as I wrote the story. I consulted Nicholas right away, and that's how I was able to get in touch with Elle.
Hideo, but you really said you wrote this part in many ways for Elle, right?
I really can't share much, but she's a very, very important character. And yes, I created the character with Elle in mind. So I was worried about her saying no to the offer. I would have had to throw out the scenes that I had written since she plays a major role.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, couldn't say no.
Next, we just have Doll Man. He's just so cute, little doll. Then we have Rainey literally standing in the rain. In the next shot, we have the president, and while I know some people were thinking this is the president of the UCA, I think this might be could be the president of Mexico. Like, what's stopping it being the president of any other place? I know that Die Hardman hasn't been mentioned in anything, but, it doesn't exclude the fact that this could be a completely different president. We're not really going back to the UCA. So, the president, he's wearing a crab on his lapel and an APAC turtleneck and a pearl earring. According to IMDb, Alistair Duncan is probably the best known for Mimir, the smartest man in the world, in the video games God of War and God of War Ragnarok, as well as Celebrimbor, the creator of the Rings of Power in Shadow of Mordor and the Shadow of War, and Senator Armstrong in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Okay, so this is Lucy, and to give you the TLDR on her backstory, Lucy was a therapist. She had Sam as a client, and she did not believe that he could repatriate. So, Sam kills himself in her office. After a few minutes, he repatriates. It just kind of skips to them falling in love and getting married pretty quickly. Lucy obviously resigned as a therapist at this point. Then, she got pregnant really quickly after. While pregnant, she gets visions on Amelie's Beach of the apocalypse, or some call it symptoms of dooms. This was because Sam would have passed down his dooms to Louise, and because of this, Lucy suffered the symptoms in her 7th month of pregnancy. Bridget took Lucy to the beach, and she had a revelation about all the events that caused the Death Stranding. So she kills herself at exactly 28 weeks. No one discovers the body, thus making her a BT. Then Sam comes home and boom. Rumors make their way around that Sam killed Lucy on purpose. So, a pretty heavy backstory. Once again, NA Venom tweeted, quote, "It seems that Lucy, Sam's wife, was having a secret affair with a man named Neil, and after his mysterious death inside the UCA, he was transported to a purgatory similar to Clifford Unger's. And now he is trying to get revenge in his own way." And I like that theory. Next, we have Charlie, my literal husband, Charlie. No voice actor associated, just Charlie.
Bro. Oh my god, that's so funny looking.
You're what they did to me.
And I really got a kick out of it. Next, we got Hartman, and this map behind Hartman confirms that each of the knots are indeed powered by BBs. If you have seen my unsolved mystery about BB, I go over this idea in great detail. Essentially, it was already a commonly held belief among the community. I think this is a shot showing the UCA. All of the BBs on the map are pointing to the central BB. In addition, the pod floating in front of Hartman is a hologram. Next, we have the name for the samurai that helps us when we're in the confrontation with Higgs that laughs like a maniacal BB, the Red Samurai. Then we got Neil looking through a doorway or opening holding a gun. We can't really tell where he is. I thought he might be holding the .357 Magnum, but it turns out to be a completely different gun. Makes me wonder who he's intending to shoot. This is Deborah Wilson, who provided the English voice lines of Crying Wolf in MGS4. For some reason, this doctor has 2 right hands. Why? Don't ask me. I don't know. It's weird though, right? When she looks down, there are these 2 scars on either side of her head. They appear to be quite dark and have branches off on either side. And what's weird is that she takes her freaky little hands and touches the BB pod, which changes its physical matter into like a liquid for some reason. I really don't know what to make of this whole thing other than they're doing a procedure to get Rainey's BB in the pot. I don't know. So I'm sitting here editing and I'm like thinking about the fact that like both of the hands are right hands, right? So here's my thing. I'm like, are humans chiral? So yes, humans exhibit chirality, meaning their bodies, specifically their hands, are not superimposable mirror images, a characteristic known as handedness. So like, what if like these people are like handedness people? Like maybe they're like able to like phase through reality. Like maybe this lady, I mean, her glasses are red. Maybe she's like, from the Mysterious Faction or has something to do with the Mysterious Faction. I don't know. That was just my thought. Next, we have Norman Reedus crying in the shower. And as Kojima-san said,
and there was so many scenes that he had to cry and I asked him to cry.
Oh no. Which means Charlie and I will probably be crying a lot. I mean, shit, we just rewatched the ending the other day and it had us crying like BBs. Whose hand is this? I know whose hand it isn't. It's not the doctor's hand. It cuts out to this kid standing on top of a submarine or something. I think this may be a flashback for Tarman. Not sure because this kid does not show up in any of the main cast. They are looking up and reacting to something. Then it does this clever transition to what appears to be Dollman's past. I say Dollman because, well, he looks like Dollman. This child is holding a doll and they are looking at a neutral BT. Remember, Dollman is a spirit medium. It seems as though he is introducing the child to the BT. One of my commenters at Shuddy thinks that it looks like Timothée Chalamet, which he was confirmed to be at Kojima's own studio according to Kojima's own Twitter. However, as I pointed it out to them, little Timmy could have been there for OD as well, which is still in development. Anywho, there are flowers in a vase on the ground. To me, it looks like Dollman is introducing his daughter to her mother. The BT that they are meeting is very femme. In all likelihood, they are Dollman's wife. Moving on, Lucy is hitting Neil's chest, and clearly this is more intimate than a normal therapist-patient relationship. This is from the second scene taking place in Lucy's office. She is clearly angry and conflicted about something. In this shot, while they are fighting, while very blurry, it appears that there is a dot on his right wrist. Keep this in mind for later. He brings her into an embrace. Neil is clearly trying to calm her down. On the back of his hand, there's this, circle. Banoon suggested that it was some kind of tracker or RFID tag to get through security across the border. Something like that. Which, I'm for it. Moving on, here we have Rainey looking at something. Clearly in shock. She's then spotted by the others with a flashlight. They start throwing rocks at her, which is odd. The YouTube creator, The Voice Box, brought up that Rainey is probably not affected by the rain, while the others are wearing hoods, meaning they are likely affected by the timefall. Because of this, she may be treated like an outcast, which I love that idea. Then Rainey just kind of turns and runs. This guy looks like an alien Halo robot but look, it's got this cute little backpack with tiny hands on the chest holding a gun. It turns around and it's carrying Higgs in a sarcophagus on its back. There's tons of little blue lights all over it too, so it is probably connected to the network. Kojima, why? Why would you put Rainey's baby in a pod? Man. I say Rainey's baby because, well, Rainey is the one holding the pod. She's wearing one of the rings that is likely to replace the handcuffs. Rainey stares at the pod, beaming ear to ear. I never seen someone look so good postpartum, to be frank. Maybe she didn't even have to push. I don't know. The doctor and this unnamed woman both look at Rainey's baby. The unnamed woman rests her hand on Rainey's shoulder in support. What's interesting is that both these women are bald. This unnamed woman also has a tattoo or a scar on her temple. Also, where they are is cold. There's condensation leaving Rainey's mouth in the air, and from the doctor and this other mysterious unnamed woman. Everything in the background is a lot harder to make out, but it appears to be some kind of medical facility. Here we have tar bubbling up from the beach. Tomorrow seems to be doing some kind of weird magic or something. But there are these structures with lights on them rising out of the tar. It's impossible to make out exactly what it is, though. The outfit that Tamara wears inside the cocoon appears to be the same one that she's wearing right here, except this one is clean. So one could surmise that either 1, this happens before she's ripped from the sarcophagus, or 2, that time is looped in on itself and that it happens both before and after. Tarman looks down at his hand. Maybe this is the moment that he lost his hand, but then again in the next shot, the tar cat is floating above. There's this upside down rainbow flare off to the right. Tarman is standing in the same place as where that one kid was looking up at something and reacting to it in one of the previous shots. I guess this could be a different submarine because it does not look quite like the DHV Magellan. There's also this box off to the right, and it has one of those APAC looking parts that are manufactured on the right side of the box. Moving on to the next shot, in the reflection that Neil is looking into, there are papel picado, which are elaborately designed tissue paper that hang from banners. According to Wikipedia, papel picado are commonly displayed for both secular and religious occasions, such as Easter, Christmas, and Day of the Dead, as well as during weddings, quinceañeras, baptisms, and christenings. In Mexico, papel picados are often incorporated into altars during the Day of the Dead and are hung throughout the streets during holidays. There are also fireballs flying through the air. He is looking through a glass window at some kind of structure. I'm not sure what, because they have those weird glass block windows from the 90s. Moving on, we have seen this shot before. From TGA 2022 trailer at the very end, Sam says, "Lou?" And the tentacles pop up. Aside from some visual and shading updates, these two shots are almost the exact same frame. The shot picks up right where the last one left off. So it kind of tricked us because this is not Sam's hand. The left hand does not have the 3 little X's, nor does it have the skull on the back of his hand. On the right wrist is a little dot tattoo. Remember how a few shots ago I pointed out that tattoo on Neil? Banoon actually pointed out to me. This is probably Neil. It's really hard to tell because of the frame-by-frame nature. Moving on. In the next shot, Sam appears to be in his private room watching a tape of dead men walking into water. It's difficult to tell, but it really looks like his silhouette. On his right hand is a handcuff. In the last trailer, we do hear Deadman's voice speaking to Sam, but then again, there is nothing stopping it from being a mere voice recording. Commenter Brass Knucklehead 1083 said, quote, "Makes me really sad if I'm actually seeing Deadman finally walk the beach, i.e. die. That's probably going to be a really hard scene." Yeah, we're definitely going to cry again, man. Then Reddit user Conscious Section 744 said, "Something will happen to Deadman in DS2. I saw this moment in the trailer and my heart stopped beating for a moment. Sam seems really upset watching this video, which may mean that Deadman will literally become a dead man." And once again, Sam is crying here, probably because this is goodbye for Deadman. Tamara is being embraced by Higgs inside the DHV Magellan, but for some reason, now she has matching makeup with Higgs. My brother suggested that perhaps Tamara was the one to jump Higgs off the beach because Higgs was stuck on Amelie's beach at the end of the last game. Tamara reaches up and grasps Higgs' forearms, and as she does, it almost turns into what looks like the seam. They appear to be almost underwater. A thread also comes down from above Tamara's head. Benoon suggested that maybe Higgs is realizing this is Amelie. My brother and Charlie suggested that this is a Joker Harley Quinn situationship. Either way, I think it's out of context and it's just weird. Another thing to note here is that Tamara is floating above Higgs in the shot. Here we have Tamara rising out of a tiny tar pool. There are also tar strands coming out from the landscape with a normal rainbow. So maybe this is like a post-stranding situation. There's also this pair of shoes sitting on the ground. User Venom Snake said, "Theory and observation. Tomorrow will be playable. If you pay attention to this scene in the trailer, it doesn't look like a cutscene. It looks more like the start of a gameplay sequence. I'm 99% sure she will be playable at this point. Anyone else see what I see?" In this scene, it is raining and it's hard to tell what Fragile is doing. She is clearly facing someone. There's a light shining up on her. This someone does not appear to have a shirt on. Their shoulder is bare. It could be Sam, but it could also be Higgs, as we will see in a few shots. Here we have someone's hand holding one of the many masks of Higgs, and it's covered in tar. Here's why I said that the shot with Fragile might be Higgs. He's not wearing a shirt. His hair is blonde here, and he has the beard back, and all his little calculations written in his head. This leads me to believe that TLGTW is right in her analysis that Higgs is using Amelie's body in some of these scenes. It also seems to start raining with lightning in this shot. It looks like Higgs' chiral allergy was activated by the timefall here as well, because boy has tears running down his cheeks. Lou reaches up to leave a handprint. I'm assuming this glove probably belongs to Sam. There's also one of those rings on the thumb. What's also interesting is that Lou reaches up to mark the handprint, and it's not quite at her height. On her elbow is that little heart-shaped birthmark I pointed out in the BB28 video. It's a lot darker now. The handprint thing is very cute and on brand for Death Stranding. Looking through this hand outline is what looks to be the apocalypse scene from the first game. It appears to be the sun. There are also these crystals that move to fill it in, and it doesn't look like anything currently from the game. I really don't know. I stared at this thing for a bit trying to figure out what it is. There's really no context for what we're looking at. The background has some animated APAC logo. Sam holds up a gun and begins to fire at something. This is kind of interesting too, because before we were not able to fire weapons within a facility. All weapons were locked. Here we have what appears to be the aftermath of Sam crying in the shower. He's sitting on the floor inside the shower of the DHV Magellan. Sam has aphantasmophobia, or fear of touching or being touched. Last time he was able to overcome this was with Lucy, his therapist and eventual wife. So this is a very big emotional leap for him. This is stupid, but I can't apparently play the voice parts out loud. So that's fun and quirky, but they just say, like Fragile's like, "Oh, you'll never ever be alone," and Sam's all like, "I'm broody and I'm alone," but she's like, "You're not alone with me." So that's essentially what was said, since I can't play the audio. It's very sweet what Fragile says. This kind of trust obviously took a long time for both Fragile and Sam to build, because they were both traumatized in their own ways. In addition, according to Report 5 by Lucy, quote, "Sam, on the other hand, I have diagnosed as demisexual. His sexual desires are strictly limited to those with whom he has formed an emotional connection, exempting family members like Amelie, of course." I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see this coming at all. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't really sense like a romance between Sam and Fragile, but okay, yeah, no, I'm with it. And when Norman Reedus was asked about the kiss, he said,
"It was nice.
This time, I'll make a lasting connection with the lady in red."
the lady in red is likely Amelie. She was the only one who was dressed in red nearly the entirety of the last game.
The perfect ending humanity deserved.
Not sure what this means other than that he really wants the last extinction. Ew! Hicks has this weird tentacle tongue. I don't know. There is very much this octopi tentacle theme going on between the BB pod, Tomorrow's arm. Now it's coming from Higgs's mouth.
For the sake of the future, we must all come together. As a barrier to the bad, and a gateway to the good.
Here we have Doll Man being strapped in with his tiny little puff jacket. He's like, Mum, uppies.
All hands, brace for launch.
We have the DHV Magellan starting its thrusters on the beach. There are several tar bodies that fall off, and one of them gets slightly burned in the process. The DHV flies over a server farm. All of the BTs can be seen in their rings overhead. Then we see all the hands which we have fought prior to this point, crawling over each other as these, what the Death Stranding wiki calls, catcher titans rise from the water. They have these umbilical cords, and not just one, but multiple of them have the umbilical cords. There are 5 catcher titans in this shot. I'd honestly be surprised if this was not the final battle. Remember how in the previous shot when we saw the catcher titans fighting, how they didn't have hands? Well, we found them. They were the hands we fought along the way, I suppose, which is an interesting concept. Then we have the skull that we fought individually from earlier. The catcher titan picks it up with the newly attached hand. The DHV Magellan flies toward all this chaos off on the right side of the frame. As the catcher titan starts placing the head, we can see the weird little vertebrae which slides down the throat of the titan. These flying manta rays from the last trailer fly in and attach to the backs of the titans. It seems as though all 5 of them prepare for battle in the exact same way. The DHV seems entirely outmatched. Then we get this frame which answers the question from the last trailer. That question being, should we have connected? The answer is, we should not have connected. Kojima-san said during the South by Southwest panel,
well, it's about connection in the game. And I didn't have anything when I started my independent studio. I only had connection with people.
Kojima also impressed the idea of what connection meant after the pandemic, and he wants us to think about this while playing the game. It's an interesting concept. We got the shameless Hamilton watch plug here. What's more interesting is that time slows down on the watch but does not entirely stop. He does flick it a couple times, as if Neil is trying to get it going.
Time stops on the beach, but not in the scene.
This shot made all the Metal Gear boys wet their pants from excitement. This is absolutely meant to evoke the image of Solid Snake. I mean, I even noticed it on my initial reaction. Oh shit, it's like some NGS shit. It's Solid Snake. It looks like Solid Snake, but due to international copyright laws, it isn't. The community has lovingly named Neil Stranded Snake, which is obviously legally distinct, original IP, do not steal. So, we've agreed as a community to call him Stranded Snake, right? The Twitter user Shalashaska mentioned that there's a woman drawn on the bandana, and I didn't even notice it at first. Everyone's talking about Solid Snake, but I noticed that no one talked about the drawing or the shape of the bandana. It looks like it was made by Junji Ito, like Tommy, for example, or something else. NA Venom kindly worked their magic and sent this PNG over. Reddit user 6IronInfidel9 had an interesting idea about who this woman on the bandana could be, and you can pause to read the entire post, but I particularly liked the first idea. They said, quote, representative of all the women he smuggled for Bridges. He wears it as a memento of his regrets. Maybe the reason why he's the Cliff of this game is his hatred toward Bridges. In the trailer, his whole thing was that he was being blackmailed to smuggle in the Still Mothers, and he probably hates Bridges because of it. So maybe, like how Cliff became stranded on the beach after his death due to his intense desire to find his BB, maybe he became stranded due to his desire to revenge against Bridges, which is why he'll probably attack Sam and such. And I missed a Snake reference from the last trailer. Sam's boots. Commenter XJRodX pointed out that the boots were the same shoes Snake wears in MGS3, the Vietnam jungle boots. So I feel like Konami is important to bring up here. There is an excellent video by The Great Debate laying out their theory about PT. In this, they explain how Konami essentially fucked Kojima over. I think that Kojima-san feels not enough people have caught it. Maybe Kojima-san feels like taking back some of his power. Maybe he's out for vengeance. After all, it's literally just some character in a bandana, right? According to Kojima-san's Twitter, when asked about which creators and actors currently have your attention, Kojima responded, quote, "There are many actors that I follow. Luca Morelli recently caught my eye after watching The Old Guard, and Martin Eden. He played an impressive villain. They also called me Jeeg Robot. But I think he will break out soon, and his popularity will increase. Also, I think if he donned a bandana, he'd be the spitting image of Solid Snake." And so, that's how the internet took it. Twitter blew the fuck up. Called Big Boss on Twitter said, "Kojima said fuck it and made homages to Solid Snake and Rex in the Death Stranding 2. He's insane and he's the GOAT." Games Lover said, "I swear, I cannot believe Kojima just put Snake like that in Death Stranding 2 on the beach. This is just so cool to me." Not only that, multiple game magazines dug up this exact quote from Kojima-san's Instagram and wrote article after article about Snake's resurrection. I think it's safe to say that Kojima is still mad, especially considering that this snake bait turns into a skeleton. Metal Gear Solid is dead now, at least dead to Kojima. It's safe to say it is on his mind because here's what he had to say at South by Southwest, which was tweeted out by South by Southwest. Quote, "The game was about connection. I thought I lost everything when I became alone 9 years ago, but no, I had something very important, which was connection with people." So this can be seen as almost a resurrection of his old IP of sorts. Whereas when these frames flicker and flash, we get glimpses of skeletons squatted up the same way as Cliff in the first game, who can breathe, I guess. This brings up an important point as well. What is Neil after? What's his goal? Cliff's goal was to get close to Sam because he wanted his BB back. He wanted to be close to his son. So is history rhyming and Neil wants to be close to his BB? Could that be Lou?
World divided, made whole. With a few sticks for encouragement. The UCA's precursor, the United States of America, had a prominent gun culture.
Where are the motherfuckers out there that say games shouldn't be political now?
A distinctly American philosophy, and one which would appear to have spread to this continent.
And I wonder what continent. Is this meant to be South America? Because of the candles with the graveyard, it gives me a very Mexican vibe. But maybe I'm wrong. It feels very Day of the Dead to me.
The more we seek to unite the people with metaphorical ropes, the more essential sticks seem to become.
Especially given the current political climate and attitude here in America. This whole vibe being put off seems incredibly on the nose. He really just hit it, man. This is incredibly relevant. The last thing I did want to discuss about the shot in particular is the bag. I think this bag contains the BB doll from earlier, which could mean that Neil is also connected to Amelie's Beach. Honestly, why else pan down and linger on the shot? I think it's a hint. On a personal note, my due date is June 9th. And even if the baby runs late, I will have the baby before June 26th. I plan on doing a Let's Play of the game, but this will likely be episode by episode given the fact that I will have my own BB. So, be on the lookout for that. Anywho, Sam puts on Drawbridge VR headset and goes into the Matrix. This has a similar particle effect to the Cupid from earlier, but what's interesting is what happens around him. To me, it looks like a reflection of his own memories being in the BB pod within the facility, the long hallways and such. I could be wrong, and this could be there to look cool, but we could also be getting more information about the BB experiments through VR missions. I'm not sure how, but the DHV Magellan was able to manifest its own Catcher Titan that is missing the golden hands near the mouth, but nearly everything else is the same. It seems as though it was manifested through Hartman, who is controlling this Titan even before putting the DHV on his head. The same little particles that came out of the Cupid are floating around Hartman as he commands,
DHV Magellan, integrate!
If you recall from the TGS scene in the DHV, Fragile says,
The nav console offers a direct connection to the tar currents.
I'm guessing this is how the DHV is able to uniquely integrate with the tar. Hartman puts the DHV on and says, everyone hold tight. Hartman also wears Doom's level 9 on his jacket. We get this Titan mech, which was not on my 2025 bingo card, which, by the way, I love this match cut. So, this is how we will fight the 5 other Catcher Titans. This is a callback to Sahelanthropus, also known as ST-84 Metal Gear, from Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain. But it is actually a callback to Metal Gear Rex from MGS Online and Survive, which was the first game to not involve Kojima-san in any way. According to the Metal Gear Wiki, quote, although Rex does not make any appearance in the Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Sahelanthropus has a very similar design to Rex when hunched over, and it is subtly implied that Oda-Kon based Rex's designs on the subconscious memories of Sahelanthropus from when Huey had him act like a test pilot for the weapon. Commenter Buffy Poodle said, Metal Gear Rex? ? So I'm not the only one. So Kojima is being very tongue-in-cheek with this obviously original Do Not Steal DHV Magellan head. So this is the one piece that he's taking back from their stupid game. The head from his beloved Sahelanthropus mech. Now, according to Kojima-san at South by Southwest, this Titan is called the Magellan Man.
Nicholas Winding Refn was integrating, and we call it the Magellan Man.
According to Kojima-san's Twitter, quote, the Magellan Man statue was designed by Ryu-san, CG model 3D printed and produced under the full supervision of Shin-chan, Yoji Shinkawa. With this, Kojima revealed this sketch, which is holding one of the BT heads in one hand and Sam in the other. Kojima Productions invited multiple content creators, not me, to get a first look in a 30-hour demo of the game in Japan. I ended up watching most of the creators talk about their experience with the demo. A lot of it was focused around the gameplay and not spoiling the story. Some of these creators do get into spoiler territory. However, the hype around the story from these creators really has me excited for what's to come.
You know, the too long didn't read is that it's clearly a very good sequel. It could be his best game, certainly since Phantom Pain. For me, since the PS2 days, it's such a better, more realised sequel than the first game was.
So when this one starts, it is such a strong opening. I think everyone I've talked to agrees that, like, it's just an incredible start to the game. Like, there's not like some long, 20-minute build-up or anything like a lot of Kojima games do.
Yep.
You're just kind of going right away. And it's less kind of like pain in the ass with the like leaning and falling down and stuff like that, which is more forgiving on that front for sure. Yeah, it's more immediately accessible than the first one.
Definitely agree. Well, let me tell you, the opening of Death Stranding 2 is one of the most stunning, most arresting, most jaw-dropping openings I've ever experienced in a video game, for real. It's a moment that's going to make someone who's never played Death Stranding before go, what the fuck is this? And it's a moment that's going to make returning fans go, oh yeah, baby, we are so back.
Shinobi602 on Twitter did their own comprehensive breakdown, and I reference it throughout this analysis. Definitely go give them a follow. According to Shinobi602, Sam's peaceful life is disrupted by the return of Fragile. Sam will first connect Mexico, then move on to Australia, both of which are filled with enemy bases. I'm pretty sure they got it from one of these various content creators. An issue I had with the first game was the pacing. Not even getting started with the slow crawl of an introduction in Death Stranding being like a feature-length film before getting to the gameplay, the story had some pretty big issues. It felt like until you got past the junk dealer's objective by literally having to human traffic a child, that the game did not actually pick up any pace. To be frank, this was the point I wanted to quit playing the game. That's how strongly I felt about it. I didn't even want to complete the objective. It felt weird and creepy for Sam to be doing this. Allegedly, this pacing issue was fixed in this game, which, if it's true, is an absolute relief. There is a corpus that one can reference at any time, including mid-cutscene that allows the player to reference past events, characters, and locations. Going back to Shinobi 602's post, quote, a significant number of side quests with meaningful rewards, special weapons schematics, narrative payoffs, skill points to unlock footstep dampeners, aim assistance, vehicle recharger, etc. The BTs are also able to see Sam now, which makes me wonder, what made it this way? I can't stop thinking about the fact that Sam is also able to see the BTs. So, what's changed in the story to make it this way? Now, to get more into the gameplay, as with Death Stranding, the game will be exclusive to PlayStation 5. There are 4 difficulty settings: story, casual, normal, and brutal. One of the reasons Banoon, Charlie, and I struggled with the first game, especially the first 12 hours of gameplay, was navigating the various menus. It was hard to understand how to make a delivery or arrange our pack. Objectives, routes, menus will be simplified as to not cause the player to throw their controller straight through the screen. As I mentioned before, both Mexico and Australia will be full of enemy bases. There isn't just mules, but there are bandits and armed survivalists too. This is kind of exciting because it creates a variety of different encounters that we could potentially have. There will also be 2 ways of getting around these areas: stealth or combat. There are extreme weather events that naturally happen during traversal, including sandstorms, earthquakes, avalanches, rain, and floods, some of which we have seen in past trailers. The day-night cycle has been confirmed. Sam will be able to sleep until a desired time for missions. Another unique aspect that plays into the day-night cycle is the type of packages us porters will be delivering, including temperature-controlled cargo. The ziplines can now curve, which is super neat. There's now an arm that can grab packages on the vehicles, but unfortunately, there's still that fucking cutscene to get in the vehicle. Whatever. At least we won't have to hop out the whip every single time. The whip will also be able to mount guns, which is super hype. Something I heard a lot of these creators parroting is that the combat feels something akin to MGS6. Dollman is able to become a scout for the area, tagging enemies and surveilling terrain. There are new attachments for the backpack. The main difference I found was that we have quiet footsteps for stealth. We are also able to put the backpack down to be more nimble. The otter hat will make a return, and we can also fabricate power gloves that can be used for combat. The coolest new weapon mentioned is the blood boomerang, which is neat that Kojima decided to embrace the whole Australian vibe deeply. Another thing is we are able to play any music that unlocks along the way, with certain songs unlocking special events. As I record this part of the script, I am about 24 hours away from having our baby by induction. We are getting very close to the release of the game, and you can look forward to content from me about the game. I would like to live stream each chapter of the game with Charlie. Then I will be going in depth about the lore of the game and looking into new details about the story. If you're interested in this kind of content and analysis, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.